Thank you for the introduction. We will now begin our presentation. The agenda is as follows. First, we will introduce the group called IcePeony. Next, we will talk about the mistake made by this group that allowed us to start our research. Interestingly, their server was open there. Because of this, we were able to access many of their resources. This included their malware and other tools. Additionally, IcePeony exports their command history, which allowed us to know exactly what actions they took. We analyzed this in detail and created a timeline of the attack. Next, we will share our detailed analysis of the original malware they used. It is a backdoor designed to run on IIS servers using the controller we found. We tested it in our environment to study its behavior. Lastly, we will consider the attribution of IcePeony by researching various data they left in the OpenDL. Okay, first, let's take a look at some basic information of IcePeony. IcePeony is a known attack group. Our research shows that they have been active since at least 2023. They mainly target Asian countries such as India and Vietnam. In the log files we analyzed, there are over 200 attempts to attack various government websites in India. They use SQL injection on public web servers. If they find a vulnerability, they install a web shell or malware. Ultimately, their goal is to steal credentials. We believe that IcePeony works for China's national interests. It is possible that they prioritize China's maritime strategy. We will explain this in more detail later. Our research found that IcePeony targeted government and academic institutions in India and political parties in Vietnam and government institutions in Mauritius. Recently, they may have also attacked Brazil. It is likely that they will expand their targets in the future. Now, let's take a look at their interesting mistake. One day in July, we discovered a host that was publicly exposing attack tools such as CrowdStrike and SQL Map and so on. Even more interesting, there was a Zesh history file. Zesh is an advanced command shell similar to Bash, and it uses a history file. From this file, we learned that this host attempted to compromise over 200 Indian government websites. We quickly downloaded these files and began our detailed investigation. One of the most interesting findings was the Zesh history file. Like Bash history, it records command history. The Zesh history also includes timestamps, which means we know exactly when each command was executed. This allowed us to create a very detailed timeline of the attack. Unlike a normal timeline made by an IR or a SOC analyst, this is a timeline from the attacker's perspective. We could see their trial and error and how they conducted the intrusion. The Zesh history was not the only interesting file. There were many others. For example, in their alias file, IcePeony had defined many helper commands for themselves. These included aliases to shut down wrong commands and commands to display help information. Here is an example with Mimikatsu. By typing hpass, the attacker could display basic tutorials for Mimikatsu. This helped them increase their success rate during attacks. Okay. Next, we will show the intrusion timeline we created from the Zesh history file. We obtained 2 weeks worth of command history from the Zesh history. Let's go through the events of each day. On day 1, the attacker tried SQL injection on many government websites. If the exploit was successful, they install a web shell or malware, gaining a foothold for the attack. On the day 2, they checked the domain information of the compromised hosts and created accounts for further exploitation. On day 3, which was Sunday, they did not perform any actions. It seems the attacker does not work on Sundays. On day 4, they used IcePeony malware to configure proxy rules. We will explain this in more detail later. On day 5, the attacker expanded their reach by attempting more SQL injection on other governmental websites. On day 6, they used various tools, including IcePeony's custom tools called stacks and open source rootkit called diamorphine. On day 7, they continued to attack other hosts using tools like URL Finder and SQLmap. On day 8, they used icecache to steal information from the compromised environment, especially focusing on domain users. On day 9, they were quiet and only performed connection checks. On day 10, they did nothing since it was Sunday. On day 11, they used tools like CrackCell and WMIexec. They used CrackCell, open source tool, to unlock password-protected Microsoft Office files. On day 12, they used icecache to add proxy rules and set persistence with scheduled tasks. On day 13 and 14, they explored other hosts for further exploitation. Throughout these 2 weeks, the attacker used various tools and commands to break into government websites and steal information. Okay. Now we will introduce the tools IcePeony used. First, IcePeony used a cracked version of Cobalt Strike. The command line to start it was saved as a script file, which read the password and profile for the team server. It seems they were using a Bing search profile. SQLmap is a well-known SQL injection tool. The attacker used it to begin their attacks. They used SQLmap in 2 main ways. The first was access the database. They used view state vulnerability to access the database data. The second way was for remote code execution. They used SQLmap to obtain an OS shell on multiple hosts. Sudo5 is a high-performance proxy tunnel tool. It supports reverse proxies for Nginx and IIS server with .NET framework. The attacker used Sudo5 to create proxy tunnels to victim hosts. Next, Stacks is a customized version of the open source tool Stowaway. Stowaway is a high-performance proxy tool. The attacker added custom function to Stowaway. Based on development strings, we call this version Stacks. Stacks included encryption for communication targets specified in active mode using custom base 64 and AES. URL Finder is an open source tool. IcePeony used it to investigate targeted websites. Crackcell is an open source tool for unlocking password-protected Microsoft Office file. The attacker used it to unlock Excel files. Proxy chains is an open source proxy tool. The attacker used proxy chains to run script files on victim hosts. Info.sh is a script file that collects system information from the compromised environment. It gathers environment information, user information, installed tool versions, network settings, SSH configuration files, and command history. Linux back.sh is a script for backdoors and persistence. It downloads and executes a backdoor shell script from the server and creates backdoor users. Interestingly, they installed a rootkit called Diamorphine, which is available on GitHub. IcePeony used many tools. There is not enough time to cover all of them. In most cases, they used open source tools. Sometimes they used multiple tools with similar functions. The attackers seemed to be experimenting as they conducted their attacks. IcePeony preferred using open source tools.
From here, we will introduce the original malware used by IcePeony. The IcePeony server contained malware targeting IIS, which was named IceCas. They used IceCas to attack the attack surface server. Additionally, during the investigation, we discovered another related malware, which we called IceEvent. Although no log of using IceEvent were found, we believe it was used to compromise another computer that was not connected to the internet. IceCas is an ELF64 binary developed in Go language. It is customized based on the open source software Regeology. To facilitate their intrusion operation, they added file transmission command and command execution functionality. The IceCas module is installed and run on IIS server. The number of commands change, but they are classified into two types based on authorization token. We found file with remaining PDB information. Their file were developed by a user named Power in a project called Cassis. The number of commands changes over time, but it includes command execution function, SOX proxy functions, and file transmission functions. They are the IceCas module found so far. The first sample we are aware of was compiled in August 2023 and submitted to Willis Total in October. Since there is no discrepancy between the compiled time and the first submission, we will the date are reliable. Many new samples have also been found since 2024. Most of the submitters are from India, which match the victim information we have gathered from open directory data. The number of commands has changed over time. It shows that the malware developers have made improvement while continue their intrusion operation. Ice event is a simple passive mode backdoor that installed as a service. Two types have been identified based on the command format. Both types only have the minimum necessary commands. The older type was discovered in September 2023, and several new types were found in April of this year. All of these were submitted from India. We believe that ICE event was developed because a simple passive backdoor was needed during intrusion based on code similarity with ICE cache. Both ICE cache and ICE event use the same key for XOR to encode communication data. And PDB information showed that the same developer created both malware. This is the XOR-based data encoding process using for communication data, which is equal to both malware. This is the command execution process equal to both malware. Since the function calls and branching process are exactly the same, we believe they were compiled from the same source code. Other commands also match perfectly. The communication data of ICE cache and ICE event is only encoding using the XOR process I mentioned earlier, making it easy to decode. Here is an example of decoding the data during command execution. Here we list the infrastructure of IcePeony identified through our investigation. IcePeony primarily use passive backdoor like IceCache. However, they sometimes use their own host for connection check or proxy settings. IcePeony tend to use settings derived from victim hosts in their subdomains. Here we show the geolocation of IP address used by IcePeony. For attacks targeting the Indian government, they prepared VPS in the Indian region. Additionally, they use hosting service in China and Hong Kong. Finally, we discuss the IcePeony attribution we consider. We investigate the attacker's activity time based on the timestamps information in the Z-shell history file. As a result, we found that the attacker is likely operating in the UTC plus 8 time zone. Surprisingly, the attacker works from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is a 14-hour workday. They are remarkable diligent workers. Similarly, we investigate the change in activity based on the day of the week. It seems that the attacker works 6 days a week, while there are less activity on Friday and Saturday. Their only full day off appeared to be Sunday. This implication suggests that the attackers are not conducting their attacks as personal activities, but are instead engaging in them as part of organized professional operation. By the way, have you heard of the term 996 working hour system? This term originates in China's IT industry. In China IT industry, long working hours see as a problem. It refers to working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Such hard work conditions are called the 996 working hour system. IcePeony might be working under the 996 working hour system. Next, there is a very simple example to consider when discussing attribution. IcePeony sometimes includes simplified Chinese comments in the tools they use. Here we provide an example of wrapper script for the icecache client. From this, we can conclude that IcePeony is a threat actor from a region where simplified Chinese is commonly used. IcePeony uses an original malware called IceCache. As previously mentioned, IceCache is based on Ligeorge. More specifically, IceCache contains the strings referencing to a project name Ligeorge Go. Upon investigation Ligeorge Go, we found that it was developed by a Chinese security engineer. There is no other information about this project on the internet, aside from the developer's blog. It was not well-known tool. However, the public available Ligeorge Go is a tool with only 3 arguments, whereas IceCache has more commands added. Let's examine attribution from another side. In this attack campaign, IcePeony targeted India, Mauritius, and Vietnam. While attacks on India and Vietnam are generally not uncommon, what about Mauritius? Mauritius is a small country located in Indian Ocean. Interestingly, Mauritius has recently formed a cooperation with India. There are ways of Chinese expansion into the Indian Ocean and have begun various forms of collaboration that counter this influence. We will summarize the attribution information using the diamond model. IcePeony consists of simplified Chinese speakers who show interest in the government of Indian Ocean countries and work under the 996 working hour system. They prefer open source software developed in Chinese-speaking region and using their original malware IceCache and IceEvent. In attacks on the Indian governments, they use VPS located in the Indian region. Additionally, the government and the education sector in Mauritius and Vietnam were also targeted. To conclude this presentation, today we introduce IcePeony. IcePeony is a newly emerging attack group. Our investigation shows that they have been active since at least 2023. Their primary targets are countries in Asia, such as India and Vietnam. The log file we analyzed recorded attempts to attack over 200 different Indian government websites. IcePeony typically attempts SQL injection attacks on public access web server. If vulnerabilities are found, they install a web shell or execute malware. Ultimately, they aim to steal credentials. We will IcePeony operate as employee conduct attacks for the benefit of China's national interest, potentially related to China's maritime strategy. They remain active, and we must continue monitoring their activities closely moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.